You know, it's interesting to me that the number of times that I hear the story change as this bill moves through the House and now comes over to the Senate. This massive bill that's sitting out there that's now almost $2 trillion with around $400 billion in additional debt originally was all about sustaining our economy. Then this very hot inflation continues to rise, and now suddenly it is, well, this is going to help us fight inflation. And now we're dealing with unemployment issues, and so now the Democrats' line changed to, well, now it's going to help us with employment issues. In reality, what's happening is they're trying to spend more, they're trying to tax more, and they're going to make a bad situation even worse in this process. So the continual tax policy tinkering discourages companies to invest and will discourage companies from actually basing here in the United States. Why do I say that? Well, they're raising the rate for companies doing business internationally here in the United States. And what they're literally doing is saying, we're going to raise the rate here, and every other country around the world promises in the future they will also raise their rate. Honestly, that reminds me of when I was in middle school around a group of guys that all came up with a bad idea, and all the guys would look at each other and say, great idea, you go first. That's what right now the Democrats are doing, is saying, you know, everyone's going to raise taxes, and the whole world is saying you go first. And the Biden administration is saying, deal, we'll try to raise taxes higher than anyone else, assuming in the future they're going to catch up. That's not going to happen. This book tax that they're releasing is a new alternative minimum tax. The alternative minimum tax has been a problem for years and years and years. The book tax has been tried in the past and has been set aside. This doesn't help, and it actually discourages investment in the future to have companies have two different systems of how they're actually tracking their tax liability, and without question, it will hurt manufacturing businesses the most, who have the opportunity to be able to write off new equipment, and new expansion will then lose that ability, which means less purchasing of new equipment, less purchasing of new facilities, and less expansion and less jobs. That's exactly the wrong direction for us to be able to go in this tax policy. It's also interesting to me, my Democrat colleagues continue to be able to talk about, we're going to go out and soak the rich in this, until you actually see their proposal. When in their proposal next year, 3/4 of the people that make $500,000 or more, their taxes actually go down, while the people that make a smaller amount, just a fraction of those, actually their taxes decrease. So it's an interesting doublespeak in this process and how they're trying to set it up. They're also taking one big risk in this, that they can throw all this information out, that we can look at all the facts and the data that's there and examine it. And they're saying to reporters across the entire country, don't look at CBO score, don't look at any of the outside groups and how they've scored. By the way, we're doing a new tax credit for reporters. Just look at that. Examine the new tax credit for reporters that, hey, we're going to help you out, and ignore all the rest of the data. Quite frankly, I don't think even reporters are going to fall for something that blatant in the process, that we'll all look at the facts and the data, and we'll see the actual effect of this tax policy, what will happen on our economy.